I'm surprised he didn't confess to killing Lincoln. It is absolutely amazing, ladies and gentlemen. And so this is a type of political diversion. He comes out and says he's getting rid of it. But if you listen to the fine print of what he's saying and the fine print of what he's written and what it's the exact same thing, but with a velvet glove on it. So he's shoring up all the horrible things the New World Order got done on Bush's watch. Now he's getting left cover as Cheney attacks him to make it look like he's doing something good. This is some slick stuff, and the public will buy it for a while. But they'll wake up.
We're on the march. The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Go north, the rush is on. Big Sam left Seattle.
All right, we've got Dr. Rand Paul joining us here in just a few moments till the end of this hour. Jesse Ventura is going to be on with us coming up in the last hour today. Got a lot of important news and information coming up as well. Dr. Paul's talking about running for the U.S. Senate. We'll also talk about his dad, what the campaign was like. I got a chance to meet his brother, who's in the Obama deception, Wayne Paul, Ron Paul's brother. So I also want to talk about the family and what this has been like for them as well, not just the campaign. Always interesting to talk to this great family. Before we go any further, I want to tell you about a few of the sponsors that make this radio show possible. One of them is pepperspray.com. And when I tell you that pepperspray.com is the one-stop shop to get your non-lethal self-defense needs, it is the place. Best prices, free shipping on orders over $99. Stun guns, tasers, great to give women in your family, or if you're in an area where Second Amendment's restricted, but these aren't, very important. Great stun guns and tasers, pepper spray of all kinds of strengths, animal repellents, home safety, personal alarms. We live in an unpredictable world, and as everybody knows, I'm all about preparedness. Remember, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That's why I want you to visit our new sponsor, pepperspray.com, and check out their wide variety of personal security products they have available on their website. Since '94, pepperspray.com has made your personal safety their number one priority. Here is their toll-free number, 1-800-908-9988. Don't procrastinate. Home invasions, robberies are exploding everywhere. I've got a friend who just moved back from Costa Rica down there doing construction work, and most of the Americans they know are leaving. And Canadians are leaving because they're just home invasions everywhere. It's starting up in the U.S. And Costa Rica used to be real good. The point is, in a bad economy, stuff gets worse. Instead of having to shoot somebody, you can taser them. Or kill them if you want. The point is, this gives you an option. 800-908-9988, 800-908-9988. Also, I want to encourage everybody to check out all the new books and videos we're carrying, like The Secret Mysteries of America Revealed Part 3, Secrets of the Dollar Bill. That's now out and discounted on DVD at Infowars.com. Get the Obama deception. Obamanoids are finally ready to wake up that this guy is a shill, a front man, and they need to see this documentary. It shows them who he really works for. It shatters the left-right paradigm, and it's all about ending the Fed. It's about solutions, taking on the private bankers. We'll talk about that with Rand Paul in a moment as well. His dad's gotten a whole bunch of sponsors now. Things are getting close. So again, Infowars.com, a secure online video and bookstore shopping cart, or call toll-free, ask about the combos and specials. You can also call the bookstore, 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. You can also see all of my films in super high quality and more, and watch the live TV show every day at prisonplanet.tv. I want to thank the members there. Okay, without further ado, Dr. Rand Paul joining us from Kentucky. And he's going to be traveling around the country soon. We're syndicated nationwide and now on XM, so folks everywhere should go to these fundraisers he's going to be having. Rand Paul, great to have you here, sir.
Good to be with you, Alex.
Very exciting times. Before we get into your campaign, and are you going to be running for the Senate? And it looks like you are. So, but before we do that, your dad, tell us about how he's doing, about the, 120-something sponsors now to audit the Fed. I mean, liberty is on the march.
I think the Audit the Fed bill is really, really exciting, and it's a real example of how our movement is not just a protest movement anymore, that we're actually going to get something done in Congress, hopefully. Actually, over 160 co-sponsors now. It's virtually guaranteed that it will get a vote in committee. They haven't scheduled the committee meeting yet, but Barney Frank is the chairman of the committee, and he's agreed to hold hearings. And what I've heard is that if it passes in committee, there's a very good chance it can pass on the floor. And this is a good first step towards opening the transparency of what goes on at the Federal Reserve. What's amazing is they've increased their balance sheet or their asset sheet by $2 trillion. You know, we talk and complain about the $1 trillion stimulus and the $1 trillion bank bailout. The Federal Reserve increased their asset sheet by $2 trillion, and nobody got to vote on it, and nobody even gets to know where the money's spent. So it's about time we opened up the books of the Fed.
It certainly is. You know, a lot of people said, "Oh, look, Ron Paul lost. What a waste." And I said, "Wait a minute. You know, revolutions always take time." The number one, new movement on campuses, starting to overshadow the phony liberals and phony conservatives, is the libertarian Ron Paul Patriot movement. He was just a focal point of that. All this investment in time and energy is just going to continue to grow, and now everybody has seen that and are more heartened than ever and have learned the lesson that this isn't going to be instant gratification. This is like planting crops. A lot of work comes into it, but before you know, you're bringing in that harvest. And it's going to be the same with your Senate campaign, and I pray, just like we pushed your dad to run for president, I pray that you will, after you're done exploring this, do it. Because it's so important to just launch more torpedoes at the enemy, and I see you as a very important torpedo, not just because of your father's name, but your great education, your patriotic stance, your activities in Kentucky, your history of liberty. I think you're the man for the job, and you're a weapon we need to use against the New World Order.
Well, the amazing thing about my father's loss, and I was very involved with the campaign, and I heard some of the dissatisfaction from people, but I try to convince people that the amazing thing about the loss is that he is routinely on the mainstream media now. Our viewpoint, finally, for the first time in probably 30 years, we have a spokesman who they may not be listening to him all the time in Washington, but we have someone who presents our point of view to a large audience on a national basis, and he became a national leader. And there's something quirky about the media in the sense that you can be a regional person, a congressional candidate, or congressman, but then when you take that next step up to the national level, all of a sudden everybody wants to know your opinion. The other thing that's made him very prescient is the fact that he predicted the housing bubble just exactly in 2003 in committee, saying there will be this housing bubble. Not only will mortgages fail, but banks will fail because of this. And now that's being repeated verbatim. Tom Woods put it in his book. Joe Scarborough's putting it verbatim in a book that he's publishing. So people are taking notice of the fact that he predicted what was going to happen with this housing bubble.
Exactly. We have a bandwagon effect. You have the Republican Party that sold out to the New World Order totally in shambles, and they're recognizing the only thing left and growing is true conservatism, true libertarian viewpoint. And I've got to say this, your father's very scholarly. He had a lot more fire and was more passionate when he was, 30 years ago giving speeches that have been since put up on YouTube. And he's very humble, so he didn't, like to get aggressive and, really show a lot of fire in the belly until he got attacked. And we saw more of that. And now he's gotten very comfortable on TV. Now he's on national TV almost every day. And he is, as you said, we're forcing the American people's popular viewpoint now into the mainstream. They're having to capitulate and admit that we are a massive minority becoming a majority. And this is an incredible, incredible victory. And that goes to you, your father, to everybody that supported Ron Paul, to people who have fought for liberty for decades in this nation. We're having huge success. And I want listeners to understand that the establishment has tried to send people into our midst to be naysayers and to nitpick and ninny. Those people, a lot of them are just closed-minded, but a lot of them are operatives.
Right, and you mentioned going beyond sort of the right-left paradigm. This is what I tell people about if I can win a primary and get into a general election, is that I don't think you have to sell your message out and just become a Democrat when you win the primary to attract Democrats. I think there's a whole host of independents and people who might even call themselves moderate who think the deficit is drowning us and we have to do something about it. But the reason they're not voting Republican is because they don't trust the Republicans anymore to do anything about it. So we have to bring back some believability. As I'm going to be running as a Republican, we need to bring back believability to the Republicans and say, we do believe in in reducing the deficit and cutting spending and doing the things that we talked about for many years but never did once we got in power.
And it's not just you. running. We need a lot more people to run. They are running. People for county commissioner, dog catcher, mayor, sheriff, state representatives on the Liberty bandwagon, and that's why we see 30-plus states moving to declare 10th and 9th Amendment sovereignty. That's why we see resolutions defending the Second Amendment and declaring state sovereignty on the Second Amendment being declared. I mean, we're actually counter-striking the globalists that are trying to take over our nation on every front, aren't we, Dr. Paul?
Well, and I think 2010 could be a big year because just historically there's a backlash a lot of times against presidents. The other thing is this president is going so far in the direction of direct government ownership of banks, direct government ownership of the auto companies, that I think there will be a backlash, and it could be a good year. And people ask me if I did win the nomination, what would I say about the Democrat opponents is I really think they're going to have to defend Obama, and it can be a campaign about President Obama in 2010. And